Let's talk about our diets for a second. More specifically, we're going to dive into a trend that has completely taken over the internet, the absolute obsession with protein. In this explainer, we're putting the social media hype aside to look at the hard science. We're getting straight to the facts from top nutrition experts to figure out what actually drives long-term health. So be honest with yourself. Are you falling for the protein hype? If you've spent literally any time scrolling through fitness feeds or wellness pages lately, you've undoubtedly been bombarded with this relentless push to consume protein. Seriously, every other post is a brand new powder, some secret high-protein hack, or a guy eating an absolutely wild amount of chicken breast. It is everywhere. But is all of this actually grounded in biology? Let's find out. Which brings us to part 1, the power of protein. Before we debunk anything, let's establish why protein is genuinely amazing. The biological journey of a single gram of protein starts the moment you eat it. First, obviously, it goes in. Then, your body gets straight to work digesting it. And finally, the magic happens. Your system breaks that protein down into these fundamental building blocks called amino acids. So your body doesn't just look at a steak and use it as a steak. It dismantles it into these tiny, microscopic, incredibly versatile tools. And you know what? These amino acids do some serious heavy lifting for us every single day. They are actively building and preserving your muscles, making crucial hormones, and boosting your immune system to keep you healthy. They even maintain your hair, skin, and nails. Basically, protein puts in a ton of work. It's the literal architectural framework of our bodies. But this brings us to a major conflict in part 2, the social media protein hype. We really have to stop and ask ourselves, is more always better? Because that's the exact logic this whole social media craze relies on, right? The idea is, if a little protein builds muscle and keeps you healthy, then mountains of protein must turn you into a literal superhero. Well, let's pump the brakes and see what actual scientists have to say about that. Nutrition scientists are actually issuing a really clear warning right now. They're telling us that these social media trends are pushing us to consume way too much protein. Experts are seeing this massive, growing disconnect between what our human bodies genuinely require to function at their best and what the internet is aggressively telling us to shovel onto our plates every single day. So, what actually happens when we eat all that extra chicken? Let's look at part 3, processing excess protein. To understand what happens inside your body when there's a biological traffic jam of nutrients, we have to look to Dr. Michelle Cardell. She's a registered dietitian, the chief nutrition officer at Weight Watchers, and an adjunct professor at the University of Florida. She puts it incredibly plainly. She says, when you need more protein than your body needs, your body can't store the extra. It just gets rid of it in urine or turns it into energy or fat. Seriously, let that sink in for a second. Your body simply cannot store the extra. When you consume protein way beyond what you need for those essential amino acid functions we talked about earlier, it only has 3 possible destinations. A portion of it is simply flushed down the toilet in your urine, which honestly is a funny way of saying social media is convincing millions of people to buy very, very expensive trips to the bathroom. The rest of it, it's either burned as everyday energy or it's stored as fat. The biological reality here is stark. Extra protein simply does not equal extra muscle. The bottom line is this: once you've had enough protein, you've met your needs. Done. Now, Dr. Cardell does note that for most healthy people, eating all this extra protein isn't necessarily harming your body. You aren't poisoning yourself or anything like that. But the absolutely crucial takeaway here is that this extra intake is essentially wasted effort. It's wasted money and it's wasted calories that your body could absolutely use better elsewhere. This leads us to our final takeaway in part 4, the secret to longevity. On one side, we've got the social media myth: more protein equals more benefit. But the scientific reality is entirely different. According to the research, balancing your protein intake with fiber is the actual secret weapon when we're thinking about optimizing your health and well-being across your entire lifespan. It's not just about eating more protein, it's perfectly balancing protein and fiber. So the actual scientifically backed formula for longevity is remarkably straightforward. First, definitely meet your baseline protein needs because those amino acids are absolutely essential. But do not overconsume it. The extra is literally just wasted. Instead, actively balance out your diet with fiber. Now, I know fiber might not sound nearly as flashy as those giant tubs of muscle-building powders, but balancing your protein with fiber is a literal superpower for your future self. So, now that you fully understand the biology of how your body actually uses amino acids, exactly what it does with the excess, and the scientific reality of balancing protein with fiber, we've got one final question for you. Will you rethink your next meal for longevity? Next time you sit down to eat, will you step away from the social media hype and feed your body what it actually needs?